Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for your main event of the evening. Huge trade went down last night that I unfortunately stayed up and saw. I didn't try to. I tried to fall asleep, and because not this morning, but tomorrow morning, as of time of recording, I have a doctor's appointment at 7 a.m. So I got to get up super early. So I was trying to catch up on some sleep because I know that I'm not going to get a whole lot of sleep tonight because I got to get up at 6. But yeah, it didn't quite happen. So unfortunately, I stayed up and saw this trade. And it was a whirlwind of a trade. So at about, I don't know, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I got the notification that the Celtics were trying to trade for Kristaps Porzingis. And I was like, yep, makes a lot of sense to me. I talked about it in the video last week. I think that obviously Bradley Beal had already been traded, but I still think Kristaps Porzingis is a great fit for Boston. And I was really hoping that if Kristaps Porzingis was going to get traded, that we would be the ones to jump on it, especially since he's on a one-year contract, so we're not tied up long-term, although there's talks of possibly doing an extension. And then at about 10:30 last night, as I was getting ready to go to bed, I got the notification that the Wizards and the Clippers were in on this 3-team trade, and the Celtics have agreed to trade Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics, and the Celtics were to get rid of Malcolm Brogdon, Danilo Gallinari, and I think that's it. Quite frankly. And then they got Kristaps Porzingis back. And then the Clippers were going to trade like Marcus Morris and a couple of draft picks or something like that. So the Celtics were going to trade Malcolm Brogdon and Danilo Gallinari with no draft capital for Kristaps Porzingis. And I was like, oh my goodness. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. But then unfortunately, a few minutes later, it said that the Celtics had backed out of that deal, not because they thought it was a bad deal, but because the Clippers were really hesitant about Malcolm Brogdon's injury. And so the Clippers were kind of, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, 1 foot in, shake it all about. And they weren't going to go through with it. And so the Celtics had, kind of got tired of the lukewarm nature of the Clippers at that point and said, forget it. We're going to figure out a different way to trade for Kristaps Porzingis. And at right around midnight last night, I'm sitting in my bed, I'm hanging out, and I see it. I see it, Adrian Wojnarowski on Twitter, and the Celtics have traded for Kristaps Porzingis. Now, at that moment, I could not have been happier. I was so excited, but then it hit me. We traded things. And it didn't say at that point that there was a third team in the deal. And I went, oh boy. Who did we trade? Who did we have to trade to get Kristaps? I was still hoping it was going to be Malcolm Brogdon, Danilo Gallinari, and then maybe a couple of draft picks. That's what I thought we would have to give up, and I thought that that'd be fair. But no, the Celtics threw me and the rest of the Celtics fan base a huge curveball, and they traded Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis. Now, there was a third team in this trade, the Memphis Grizzlies, who actually are the ones that ended up acquiring Marcus Smart. They traded not one, but 2 first-round picks to the Celtics to get Marcus Smart, and the Celtics also included Danilo Gallinari and Mike Muscala in the trade as well. So, in totality, here is what the summation of the trade ended up being. The Celtics receive Kristaps Porzingis, the 2023 number 25 pick from the Memphis Grizzlies, and a 2024 top 4 protected first-round pick via the Golden State Warriors, which honestly, if the Warriors have another injury-plagued season, it could be a little bit more valuable of a pick than what others are saying at this point it might be. So, not a bad pick to have in your treasure chest there, because, you never know. Steph Curry gets hurt, and that team looks like a skeleton crew at that point. So, yeah, I mean, you never know. So, anyway, so that's what the Celtics got. Porzingis and 2 first-round picks. The Wizards, who obviously traded us Porzingis, got guard Tyus Jones from the Memphis Grizzlies, the number 35 overall pick in this year's draft from the Celtics, Mike Muscala, and Danilo Gallinari. And the Memphis Grizzlies got Marcus Smart. And just Marcus Smart. So that is the trade. Wow. Huge blockbuster deal. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was shocked. I was reading it, and I was so tired that I couldn't tell if it was real. I couldn't tell if it was really happening. I couldn't tell if I had just fallen asleep and was dreaming or having a nightmare. I didn't know. I didn't know how to feel. It was crazy. And I'll tell you what. Whew. I have a lot to say about this trade. And I'm going to get into all of it right here. So stick around. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I really want to hear what you guys have to say. There are two camps right now. There's the camp that loves this trade, and there's the camp that hates it. I am in the camp that loves it. I love this trade. Now, what people have also said is there are two camps. There's the people who hate Marcus Smart and therefore love the trade, and love Marcus Smart and therefore hate the trade. I am neither one of those. I love Marcus Smart. I do. There are a lot of things that I love about Marcus Smart, and there are a lot of things that I hate about Marcus Smart. I love his passion. I love his competitive drive. I love how every single game, no matter what, he gives everything he has. I love that he was an emotional leader. I love that he was a Celtic for his whole career. I love that he embraced Boston, which is my home, more than I've seen many other athletes do. I mean, very few people really personified Boston during their tenure than Marcus Smart. I will miss that. Genuinely, I will miss him as a player. I will miss the comfort of knowing that Marcus Smart is there every night almost. He did get injured sometimes, but pretty much every night or every day when they play, Marcus Smart was there to be a leader. I will miss that. What I will not miss is the bricks. I will not miss the bricks. Now, there have been significantly less bricks over the last 2 years. I will give him that. But I will not miss the chucking up threes when you shouldn't. I will not miss the missing easy shots. I will not miss a lot of the deficiencies that Marcus Smart has. I will not miss, quite frankly, disappearing sometimes. I will not miss the inconsistent defense that no one wants to talk about. Guys, in 2022, he won Defensive Player of the Year. In 2023, he didn't make an all-defensive team at all. Not first team, not second team, nothing. He got out-defensed by a guy who came off the bench all year on his own team. Now, I know he may have had an ankle injury. But guys, the defense, while his hustle was always there, while his effort was always there, while his heart and his soul and his passion was always there, the results sometimes just weren't. And it's hard to admit it if you're Celtics fans. And it's hard for me to admit it. But it's my job to admit it. That's why I do this podcast. I refuse to say things that I don't believe are true. I refuse to sugarcoat. I refuse to hide the truth. I refuse to give false narratives. Marcus Smart, the results were not always there. He has gotten better every single year, and for that, I tip my cap. But he is not good enough to never trade. And as much as it hurts emotionally, and as much as I'm sure that locker room might suffer the consequences of having a gaping leadership hole, everything I'm about to talk about trumps that. I have watched this team go to 5 Eastern Conference Finals, or maybe 4. 4 or 5 Eastern Conference Finals over the last handful of years. I think it's 5 Eastern Conference Finals over the last 7 years. They have won 1 Eastern Conference Finals. And then they got trounced, embarrassed, outplayed, outworked, out-hustled, and out-hearted in the finals by a team that had already won 3. You should want it more than them. You should want it more. You should need it more. But they didn't. Marcus Smart is only one player. I understand that. And it's not up to him to play for everyone else. But Marcus Smart also is not your best player. He's not your second best player. He's not your third best player. And he never has been. People have said he's the most important player. And you know what? Maybe he was. But he's also not your third best player. And so it's fine that he is gone. And I know people don't want to hear that. I get it. I love Marcus Smart. I do. But let me ask you all a question. Do Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have any excuses left? Because let me ask you this, people at home. What have the Celtics done in the last 4 years to address the problem of underperforming in the playoffs? What have they done? Fired their coach, fired their GM, fired another coach, but that wasn't because of underperforming in the playoffs. They've traded away Al Horford. They've gotten rid of Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier. I already said Al Horford, Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker. They've gotten rid of all those other pieces and left behind the big three that have always been there for 7 years, give or take. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart. Those three were the constant because they believed that they could win a championship with those three, and if they could just figure out the rest of the pieces around them, they could do it. They could just figure out the rest, figure out the coaching, figure out the culture, figure out the rest of the surrounding players. They could do it. Well, you know what? They didn't do it. Every single year is the same. Sure, they made a miracle run last year to the finals, and let's call it what it is. It was a miracle run. At the All-Star break, we were dead in the water. Dead. 8th seed. Nowhere. Going nowhere. Same thing as 2021. Barely scraping into the playoffs. We were going nowhere. And then the defensive intensity turned up, and we made a miracle run, got to the 2nd seed, and ended up going to the finals. And getting embarrassed, as I mentioned earlier. Had a one miracle run. One. And the rest has been catastrophic failure after catastrophic failure after catastrophic failure over and over and over again. Lost in 7 to the Cavs. Lost in 6 to the Heat. Lost in 7 to the Heat. And I don't remember what the 4th loss was off the top of my head, apparently. But I'm sure it was pretty bad. Whatever it was. So, for me, the only person left, the only constant left in those failures outside of Jason Tatum, outside of Jaylen Brown, was Marcus Smart. He's the only one. Now, for me, I hope you guys don't think I'm blaming everything that's happened on Marcus Smart. Of course I'm not. Marcus Smart might not even be the problem. But you know what? There's no other constants left. He's the only one that stuck around outside of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So if we're going to figure out what Jason Tatum and what Jaylen Brown are made of, now's the time. There's nobody left. No one else to fire. No one else to blame. No one else to hold them back except themselves. That's it. If this year, this Celtics team stays as healthy as they did all season long last year and loses in the Eastern Conference Finals or does not win a championship, you now have to look at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and say, you know what? I don't think one of them or both of them have it in them. This is it. This is the year. There's no other chances now. Because after this year, if you don't win a championship, you cannot pay Jaylen Brown $300 million. You just can't. Especially if he's the reason you don't win it. And you have to seriously think about paying Jason Tatum that much money too. Because he would be eligible for $315 million. By the way, both of those would be record-breaking contracts, just so everybody's aware. They would be the 2 highest paid players in the NBA this year. Until somebody else's contract gets up like a like a Jokic or something like that gets an extension, or maybe like a I don't know, maybe when Paolo Banchero, if he becomes a first-team All-NBA player like Jason Tatum did, like something like that to happen. So there's no excuses left if you are Jason Tatum, if you are Jaylen Brown. Yes, you're going to be mourning the loss of your brother. I'm sure. But look, let's be honest. As soon as the finals were over, we were screaming to blow the team up. I wasn't screaming to blow the whole team up. But there were a lot of Celtics fans who were saying, that's it. Trade Jaylen Brown, trade Marcus Smart, trade Al Horford, trade everybody. Everybody's out the door. We hate all of you. And now as soon as we try to do that, everyone says, oh, I can't believe you traded Marcus Smart. What's wrong with you? He's the heart and soul. He's the only reason we were here. No, he's not the only reason we were here. Things needed to change. Brad Stevens knows what the fake definition of insanity is. It's not really the actual definition of insanity, by the way. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If the Celtics this year had trotted out Marcus Smart as your point, Jaylen Brown as your 2, Jason Tatum as your 3, Al Horford as your 4, and Robert Williams as your 5, and Derek White coming off the bench, oh, yippee skippy, again, and we had lost again, we would have lost our ever-loving minds as Celtics fans. We would have sat there and been like, so you ran it back. This is 3 years in a row. Figure it out. That's what we'd have been saying. Let's all be honest with ourselves, because I know I would have, because that's how I felt this year. But as soon as we trade Marcus Smart, all the hellhounds come a-barking, saying that you're ruining the franchise. Marcus Smart was the heart and soul of the Celtics, and now Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, for every game of the year, are going to stand there like this. I don't know what to do. Marcus Smart's not here. Somebody tell me how to play basketball. It's ridiculous. Stop it. Stop it, Celtics Twitter. Stop it. It's absurd to think that that's what's going to happen. Because let's not forget, getting back to the trade itself, you just got a guy who scored 24 points per game last year as a number 2 option. That's pretty good. That's Jaylen Brown good. Almost. He averaged 9 rebounds a night, despite the fact that they had another center playing alongside of him, just like he will in Boston. It's pretty good. He also averaged 2 blocks a night, and he was a fantastic interior defender. Woo, okay. So now you have more presence inside that you didn't have last year. And the icing on the cake is Kristaps Porzingis is a 39% three-point shooter. And I've seen him take very deep threes. He's going to be able to stretch the floor. And I'm sorry, Marcus Smart, you are not a good three-point shooter. You've gotten better, but you're not consistently good at it. Kristaps Porzingis is very good at it, especially for a man his size. 7'3". They call him a unicorn for a reason. There's no one else in the league like him. And now he's a Celtic. And you still have Jaylen Brown. You still have Jason Tatum. You still have Malcolm Brogdon. You still have Derek White. You still have Robert Williams. You still have Al Horford. You have a fantastic top 7. Probably the best top 7 in basketball as far as I'm concerned. So, as far as I can see, this trade makes perfect sense. I get it. I did not want them to trade Marcus Smart either. But am I so angry that they did it that I'm blind to the fact that this is a perfect fit for the Celtics? No. I would have much rather traded Malcolm Brogdon and a couple of first-round picks. Because Malcolm Brogdon, as good as he was last year, 6th man of the year, he's injury prone. He was healthy all year last year until the playoffs, which is unfortunate. But his injury is apparently so bad that it's scaring teams away. Heck, it's scaring the Clippers away. And the Clippers take everybody. Paul George with all your injury history. Kawhi Leonard with all your injury history. Let's bring them all in. Come on, guys. Let's take all the injury-prone players. I'm pretty sure if they'd have gone through that trade, Tyronn Lue would have walked away and said, I'm out of here. I can't coach this team. You're going to have me coaching the G League team by week 6 of the season because all my starters are injured. So, you know, but the point is that I understand why people are upset and sad to see Marcus go. I am sad to see Marcus Smart go. It's going to be weird not seeing him in a Celtic uniform. But guys, something needed to change. There is no ifs, ands, buts, or coconuts about it. Something had to be different. Because if they had stayed the same, everything else would have been the same. We are not good enough to win a finals last year. We were not good enough to win the finals 2 years ago. We would not have been good enough to win the finals this year either. That's just how it would have been. Look, this could go catastrophically wrong. I understand that. Kristaps Porzingis could walk away after a year for nothing. He could average 10 points a game or blow out his knee in the second game and be completely useless for his one-year contract. I do feel terrible for Danilo Gallinari because I know he's a Celtics fan and he never even got to suit up for them despite signing with them and picking up a second-year option. He never got to play 1 second for the Boston Celtics, and that sucks. I feel terrible for him, and I was hoping we could keep him in this trade. Before all the rest of the details came out, I saw that it was just Marcus Smart for 2 first-round picks, and then Kristaps Porzingis for Tyus Jones and the 35th pick or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. We didn't have to give up any wing depth. But we did. We did have to give up Danilo Gallinari. So I was like, okay, well, that sucks. I was hoping to keep him just to see him even play 1 game for the Celtics. But alas, it was not meant to be. Maybe someday he'll come back and he'll play for the Celtics again, or for the first time. I don't really know. But you get what I'm saying. Maybe he'll come back and get that chance. But not this time. Something needed to change, guys. There needed to be a different approach. And again, it could go catastrophically wrong. Kristaps could blow out his knee and not be a factor. Right? Heck, Marcus Smart could go win a championship in Memphis and said, hey, if you'd have just stuck it out for 1 more freaking year, I figured it out. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. None of us do. But what I'll tell you is, I would rather try something completely different and see Brad Stevens go, look, I get it. We weren't good enough. This is my attempt to be better and have it blow up in our faces than to not try anything at all. As you say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And Brad Stevens last night, this was his opening best shot. I think there's more to come. I would not feel comfortable going into the season with Malcolm Brogdon as our starting point guard because he's injured. And Derek White's not a pure point guard. So what are you going to do? Start Peyton Pritchard? I mean, I love Peyton Pritchard, but he can't really play a whole lot of defense. So that's not going to be great. So what are you going to do? Well, maybe you use that 25th pick to trade for somebody. You know, maybe you try and trade Malcolm Brogdon for another point guard that might work out for you. I don't know. But what I know is that something like this needed to happen, and I think Kristaps Porzingis is a perfect fit. If he can stay healthy, and if he takes to our system the way I hope he does, and if we use him the way he needs to be used. Because we don't need a whole lot of rebounding. Robert Williams is a great rebounder. Tatum's a great rebounder. Brown's a great rebounder. Even Derek White's a pretty good rebounder. Obviously, Al Horford's a good rebounder. So you don't need a whole ton of rebounding. So it's not like you need him to be a pure center and just sit in the paint and rebound all the time. Even if he's defending guys on the perimeter, or even if he's standing out on the perimeter, you've got guys that can get offensive rebounds. So that's great. And you just need to space the floor more. Get Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon and all these guys better driving lanes. So I'm happy that this trade happened. I love this trade. I'm sad. Sad to see Marcus Smart go. I would have preferred to see Malcolm Brogdon go. But that's not how it works, and sometimes you have to give up stuff you don't want to give up to get stuff you need. And this is just something the Celtics needed. They needed a jolt of adrenaline into their team. They needed a message to be sent. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, you have no excuses left. If you don't win a championship this year, This stuff ain't working. We're blowing it up. Jaylen Brown's going to walk. We're not paying you $300 million if we don't win a championship. Heck, we might not pay you even if you do. But if you do, and you prove that it works, you're going to have a hell of a lot more of an argument to make that you deserve it. Jason Tatum, are you the guy? I think you are. Me, Tyler Lopes here in Greenville, South Carolina, I think you are. But you haven't proved it yet. You proved that you can get a team to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you proved that you can maybe get a team to the finals even though you kind of stunk. You have no excuses left. The team needed a shot of adrenaline, and this is the trade to do it. And I'm just excited to see what else the Celtics are going to do for the rest of this offseason. In the draft, tonight, later on down the road. You know, how's it all going to work? How's the money going to work? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out.
Hey guys, me again. Thank you so much for watching one of my clips from the Lopes Goes Last podcast. These clips are so much fun to do. I absolutely love making them, and I absolutely love doing them. And this podcast is my baby. So I really want this thing to grow, and I really want it to succeed. So if you did like what you see, please subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you never miss any one of my episodes or one of my clips like this one. And please do also like and share these videos with your friends and your family so that we can make this thing grow as fast as possible. And I wanted to thank you again so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.